Welcome back. Well, every third Wednesday of the month, KQ2 recognizes the men and women who have chosen to dedicate their lives to keeping the rest of us safe from harm. No matter the situation, these heroic individuals are willing to put themselves in danger to help complete strangers in peril.
That's right. In tonight's Salute the Badge, we meet Officer Christopher Babb of the St. Joseph Police Department, who tells us making a difference in someone else's life starts with making a decision in yours.
KQ2 and Ken Smith Auto Body salute the badge.
What I said at the start of my career was, if I could save one life in my career, that career was worth it. And it made a difference.
Meet Officer Christopher Babb, a lifelong resident of St. Joseph, who says he always had a soft spot in his heart for his community and its citizens.
It was a great town when I was growing up. I loved it.
The idea to become a first responder came early for the officer.
I always go back to Neely Elementary is where I was at, and career day that we had. EMS was there, fire department was there, Army was there, the police were even there. And to me, that was remarkable.
He says he was captivated by the dedication of the men and women and says he immediately knew what he wanted to do with his life. And not long after being sworn in as an officer of the St. Joseph Police Department, he faced one of his most challenging and dangerous calls.
It was a house fire. I was actively at the time about around Belt Mitchell area. Saw a large plume of smoke into the sky.
With a trainee in the car, Officer Babb headed toward the smoke. When the first responders arrived, the home was fully engulfed.
The heat and the flames from it were so bad, the power lines were coming down. And there was about 3 children, I recall, running across the yard, and there was a young woman screaming that her father was trapped inside the house. As
the officers fought their way through the smoke, the intentions of the man inside became eerily clear.
We went over there to the east side of the house, and the gentleman was standing in the window. It appeared that he was praying from there. It was very odd, kind of creepy. And we found out very soon that he was actually trying to attempt suicide by setting the house ablaze.
According to the first responders, the man had a 7 to 10-inch knife, allegedly ready to harm them if they tried to save him.
He started coming toward us with a knife. Didn't know what the threat was going to be by that, if he was going to be hostile or not, so we did deploy a taser on him.
The man was disarmed and Officer Babb carried him out to safety.
Extremely close to dying that day, probably, because that house did collapse, and I think it was a few minutes after we got out of there.
Thanks to the heroic efforts of Officer Babb and his trainee and all of the first responders on scene, that man and his family survived what could have been a deadly inferno. For Salute the Badge, I'm David Bowden, KQ2 News.